Hey guys, it's ExandShadow, and welcome to my newest Let's Play series for a game that actually came out relatively recently. This is the Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures, or AVGN Adventures as I am most likely going to be referring to it in the future. This is a 2D platform game starring, of course, the Angry Video Game Nerd. If you somehow, I don't know, you live like under a rock or something, have not heard of the Angry Video Game Nerd, he is a video game reviewer on YouTube and on screwtack.com who basically yells about shitty games. And I just gotta say it right now, I love the fuck out of the Angry Video Game Nerd. I would not be here right now if it wasn't for him. And actually, I don't think that the internet as we know it right now would be the same without the Angry Video Game Nerd. He basically invented the internet reviewer subgenre, which in turn, you know, helped popularize things like Let's Plays. So I definitely wouldn't be here. Brain Scratch probably wouldn't be here. Johnny probably wouldn't be here. You know, we owe a lot to this guy. So, you know, just playing and enjoying the fuck out of this game is one really great way to just say thank you to him for all the good he's done and all the laughs he's given us. Because this, on top of just being made by an amazing dude, is also an amazing game. You know, think about that. The Angry Video Game Nerd game basically functions like a combination of Contra, Mega Man, and Castlevania, the NES versions, of course. Controlling the game is relatively simple. Assuming you've got an Xbox 360 gamepad in your hands, you move with the control stick or the control pad, you jump with the A button, and you shoot with the X button. That's basically the gist of the main controls. You can also hold down the trigger button, like in Contra 3 for the Super Nintendo, and you will stay still and you can shoot in all 8 directions without moving at all, so that's actually pretty helpful. You can use it in a lot of different situations. Also, once you pick up a power-up button like these shitty rocks, you can use the Y button to use it. So, what makes this game so special? Because you're probably looking at the footage right now and thinking, oh, it's just another one of these 8-bit style 2D platformers that have been coming out like wildfire recently. And you know what? You're right. You know, this sort of throwback NES styled platformer subgenre has been, you know, a favorite sort of style for indie games recently. And you know, you might be thinking, what exactly makes this game special? Well, first off, that game over screen right there is part of it. This game has tons and tons and tons of charm to it, which is part of what sets it apart from every other dime a dozen 8-bit styled indie game out there, you know. This is a game about the Angry Video Game Nerd, and so you're going to be seeing a lot of the Angry Video Game Nerd's, you know, core essence in the game. You know, you get a lot of bullshit, monkey fucks, you know, all that sort of stuff. There's tons and tons of references to all of his different videos and the different games that he's reviewed, as well as just 8-bit video games in general, all throughout this game. And if you're, you know, a big fan of that sort of stuff, you're going to absolutely love this game, because just trying to spot references to the old videos, you know, a lot of them are actually really subtle, a lot of them are a little bit less subtle, like Super Mega Death Christ there, you know, that's a relatively obvious reference to the, I think it was Super Mario Bros. 3 where he first popped up. I can't remember, it's been a while since I've watched everything he's done, but, you know, there's just a lot to love about this game. The intro stage there that I just talked through is relatively simple. It's just there to be a basic tutorial for, you know, the game's controls, the general idea of how the game's levels are supposed to work. From then on, after beating the intro levels, you've got this Mega Man-styled progression where you can choose one of the 8 stages and continue from there. However, there are 3, you're going to want to go to 3 stages in order as soon as you get there. So, the first stage you should always pick whenever you're playing this game is Future Fuckballs 2010. And yeah, it's hard to believe that in the 80s this is something that they actually thought it would look like in 2010. Yeah, you know, I actually do think that my bedroom floor did become puke green and there were giant Robs walking around. You know, I think for at least a little bit in 2010 it was like this. Yeah, I don't know. In 2015 we're totally gonna have hoverboards too. Guys, get over it. That's probably not going to happen. What was that? Okay, so anyway, this is where the real gameplay sort of starts. The intro stage was pretty damn easy. From here on, the game gets an awful lot harder. As you can tell right there, you know, there's lots of instant death traps all over the place. You know those giant lasers? Those are instant death. Those blocks with the skulls on them? Those are instant death too. There's a lot of shit that's trying to kill you in this game, so you really have to play carefully if you want to get past. And that's basically the big trick to making AVGN Adventures a whole lot easier, is just to play carefully, because if you bum rush this game, you are probably going to get hit a whole bunch or just get smashed by an instant death trap or something like that. You know, this game does not reward you for, you know, being an absolute fucktard and running through without thinking. You know, this game rewards you for patience and rewards you for, you know, playing smart, which is something that I really enjoy about this game, because if you look at the level design just sort of objectively, you know, just sort of glancing at it, you know, at first, you know, you'd sort of think, man, this level design's bullshit. You know, this game's bullshit. You know, you'd sort of think like that. You know, there's lots of seemingly bullshit type level design here, but you know, I'll continue this thought in a moment. We've unlocked one of the first new characters. This is the guitar guy, who you might remember from the series, lives behind the nerd's couch, and ends up as a skeleton more than once. Then you change between characters in this game by pressing the bumper buttons, and they function, think Super Mario Bros. 2 USA, where if the nerd is Mario, you know, average running speed, average jumping height, the guitar guy is Toad. He runs a little bit faster, but he doesn't jump as high, so, you know, he's useful in a couple of different situations, so that's why you want to pick him up as soon as possible. The other thing that's special about him is that his guitar can shoot through walls, which the nerd's gun cannot. However, the guitar guy's guitar strums go in this weird arcing pattern, which is sometimes beneficial, but usually not. And also, he can't shoot in any direction. He can only shoot forward. So, well, you're going to be playing as the nerd like 80% of the time. There are quite a few instances where all of these alternate characters are incredibly useful. So you're going to want to go to Future Fuckballs 2010 in order to get the guitar guy pretty much first, because, well, I'll explain why you definitely want to go to this level first when I get to the next part. But just suffice it to say, I really do like having the guitar guy there. You know, it's just, he's a very useful character, and you know, it's good to have him. Even if you don't end up using him a whole lot, it's better to have the option of changing to him than not having that option, you know? So anyway, you might be looking at this level design and thinking, Jesus Christ, this level design is bullshit. You know, instant death traps everywhere, obstacles everywhere, you know, how is anybody supposed to get past this? The level design is not bullshit. It looks like it's bullshit, which actually I think is a very impressive feat, considering that this looks like the sort of game that the nerd would bitch about in one of his shows, you know, projectiles, all sorts of stuff. There's tons of things purposefully programmed into this game that the nerd has bitched about before, like when you pause the game, it'll play this little drum beat kind of like Battletoads, and that was something he specifically complained about in his Battletoads review. So, you know, it looks like a game that the nerd would just sort of bitch about, you know. However, the level design is crafted really well, where, you know, there isn't really a whole lot of instances where it's unfair. You know, nothing ever really blindsides you in this game. Like, look here. You know, there's instant death blocks right there, and, you know, those look like they're a bitch to dodge, and you know, they are pretty tricky to dodge. The thing is, however, you'll always be able to see the block's pattern before you try to go through it and there's no real danger of getting hurt while you're observing the pattern. So, you know, you're always able to analyze the obstacles up ahead before you come through them, making the level design very fair. It's tough, don't get me wrong, you know, you're going to die a whole bunch. I died a whole bunch. At the end of my first playthrough, my death count was like 954 or something like that. It was ridiculous. But, you know, it's fair, and that's one of the things that I really like about this game, as opposed to some of the classics that it's trying to emulate. You know, there's no bullshit here like in Castlevania, where, you know, it's just like the control is bad and that's why it's challenging, or stuff like in Ghouls and Ghosts where you're blindsided or anything. This is just completely fair level design, and that's part of why I love it so much. It's probably the game's strongest asset, you know. It's got tons of charm and the presentation is great, yeah, but I think that the level design is really AVGN Adventure's strongest point. So anyway, here we've got our first, or well, potentially first, depending on what level you pick, but my first boss fight, and this is against whoever the fuck that lady was during the, I think it was the Atari Jaguar review he did. Anyway, the strategy I like to do for this battle is to start off as the nerd and shoot her, like, head shield. I recommend being the nerd for that, because the nerd fires a straight shot, which makes it really easy to hit the sort of circling heads around her. After that, however, I like to switch to the guitar guy, because the guitar guy, even because his shots wave like that, he's actually better for hitting bigger better for hitting bigger targets, and you don't really need to aim as much. You can just sort of spam his attacks, and you end up doing more damage against bosses like that. So that's why I like to use him in the second phase of that fight. Anyway, next time we're going to go to Dungeons and Dickholes. Yep, that's the name of the next level. I'm ExandShadow, and I'll see you guys later.